Hello, it's Amy with Just a Little Ink. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and today I'm sharing with you my November online class. This is a free class to watch, and you may receive the paper products and accessories. So I've got a couple things that aren't paper. Everything minus actually the frame in this case. So I've got a photo or a welcome sign. So we'll word that's what it is. And the frame won't be included, but all the other paper pieces will be included. If you place an order of $35 or more in my online store, that link is available both in my description of this video as well as in my description of my Facebook page. And so if you're watching it through Facebook, you can check it out there as well. But anyway, with all of that, I want to kind of just switch over and just share some of these. They're really pretty fun, quick projects, and definitely something that's better than just sending greeting cards for Christmas. So let me switch over and let's get going. All right, so I do have over here in the left part of my screen the host code that you use if you are going to be placing that online order to receive Happy Mail from me. What we're going to be making, I'll just kind of step through. We're going to be making a welcome sign. Again, you'll receive everything to do this minus the, obviously the embossing powder. There's a few things you're not going to have, but the papers and the pre-cut welcome, but you're not going to get the frame. That you will have to purchase on your own. This is a 5x7 frame. Let me set that out of the way. We're also going to be making an ornament. You would receive this acrylic ornament. These were purchased at a local craft store. They come in a package of 10, and I believe it was just under $4 for that package, plus of course your taxes. And we're going to make a thank you card using, again, in all of these things, we're using the Yuletide Village stamp set, which is a photopolymer stamp set with all of these, and I think I do have them all in here at the moment. So it's a photopolymer stamp set, so they're clear, you can see through them, and you see it when you add that ink. And then I'm going to be using some die sets. Whoops, draw things all over the place. It's one of my days here. So I'm also using the Stylish Shapes dies, the circles, and some of the tags, and the Falling Snow stamp set, which is one I hadn't actually used yet. So with all of that, I just want to jump in and start. So in your packet, if you choose again to place that order, and all of these things will go in the, they will come in the mail to you, and they will ship out on the 2nd of December. So you have from today, the 21st of November, through December the 1st in order to place your order. So I have, let's start out from the beginning here. You're going to receive a piece of 5 inches by 7 inches Pool Party cardstock. You're also going to receive some of our white willow. This is a brand new cardstock. It's in our scrapbooking line, and you're going to get 2 pieces of it, one that measures 7 inches by 3.5 and one that measures 5 inches by 3.5. And then I have an extra piece here because I already cut it. You're going to receive a piece of old olive, and you're going to receive it like this. So it's going to already have some of our adhesive sheet on the back, and I'll have cut out the welcome so that you can place it on. And so those are some of the things, and that's all we're going to need for this particular project. You are going to want to have your paper snips or a sharp tipped scissor if you don't, or excuse me, not if, you will need that to cut out some things. So again, I've got my stamp already inked or put on our big block. This is the largest block we have. It's a block F. And I'm gonna ink it up with Versamark ink. Versamark ink is a, we use it for embossing, but it also is a watermark ink. And so if you let it dry, it just gives you a tone on tone for whatever color of cardstock you're using. And I'm only gonna do part of this. I'm gonna grab my scrap paper, put it on here. And I found it a little tricky, and there are probably other ways to do this. I'm gonna line it up. You're gonna stamp. You need to get nice firm pressure on this because it's a big stamp. Okay, and then when you lift it off, you'll see that it has, and I'm gonna do this in 2 steps because it's just the easiest way to do it. It's got, how well it sees in the camera, pretty light. So I'm gonna set that aside. You would want to clean that. I've got our Wow Basics embossing powders. My space is all a little busy. Well, busy. So I'm gonna lay it into my tray. This is the Additions toolkit for heat embossing. It isn't necessary, but it does make things easier. So you're gonna sprinkle it across there, let it kind of get all the parts. There we go. And then I would take my heat tool, heat it up until it gets shiny. That's kind of the thing. You can overheat embossing powder. I'm gonna go ahead and put it away only because right now we aren't gonna need this. So I'm just gonna set it out of the screen and we'll grab it later. But you would heat all of that up, and because I've already done that, I've got, and mine's not the prettiest, but it won't matter because we're going to cover up parts and pieces on this. So I'm going to turn it so that the way it's heating, actually I didn't heat all the way through on that. That could be interesting. So when you have a section that isn't heated all the way through, or isn't shiny, you'll know it's not heated all the way through. So I'm going to set this aside, and then we're going to stamp on these pieces of white willow. And white willow, just for reference, is just slightly whiter. It's harder to see, but I've got a piece of basic white laying on top of, and you can see it's just a little less white. It's a lot brighter of a paper. So grab out, I'm going to put my church over on this end, and I just got to grab, we're going to use some Tuxedo Black Memento. Ink this up. I've got it inked the way I'd like. So I'll come here. And I kind of found we'll just kind of keep these. We're going to be using Memento for lots of things. I've got a few tips and tricks here. So then what I found is I'm going to be making I'm getting crazy. So I'm going to put this up in the higher part because I'm actually going to cut it out and raise it up. So this one's going to come up. And then we'll clean these. That is if I kept my Simply Chamois. Try to keep mine in a baggie so it keeps them moist. I know a lot of people don't do that, but I find that works the best for me. So you want to make sure you keep your stamps clean. So put this one away so we don't have too many blocks laying all over the place. Then I'm going to take and stamp my house, and I want it in line with, I'll kind of come over here. This is from kind of playing around with it earlier. So that one over here. Then I need, there's one more house. So there are 3 houses and then 1 church in this stamp set. There's also a tree. And let's see, I'm just going to stick this one here and we'll get the tree out now. Okay. So I've already cut all of my other pieces. So that's what this other paper is for, is to do my trees. And then this house. So got those here. And then I want to get my trees ready. And you can put them in any open space because we're going to be fussy cutting a lot. So, and we won't need that space there. So like that, get the ink out of the way so we aren't having it all over the place. Then it's a matter of coloring, which is, you know, some people like and some people don't. I like the Stampin' Blends. They're an alcohol-based marker, which doesn't leave lines, which is what I like about them. And I'm going to leave a little place here and there where that snow is kind of showing on the tree. So you kind of do it as you decide, but I did find you can use our watercolor pencils, and that's a great option as well, depending on what you're looking for. You have to be a little careful to not have it bleed into the tuxedo black, because tuxedo black is meant for the alcohol-based markers. It's not meant for water, and so that's where the biggest difference comes. We use StazOn if we're going to be using the watercolor pencils. So all of that to say, you can kind of mix the two, but at times they don't play well together, so you have to be careful with blending the two together when they're not meant for that medium. So all right, let me come up into here like so. The coloring is what always takes the longest amount of time. And then I had a couple things. Oh yes, over into here I want to make sure to grab my wreath on the church. Just trying to think ahead. Oh, and I've got a tree over here. Get all those things. And so, okay. Then what I wanted to do is I took crumb cake. That's what I'm going to color the church with, and I'm going to just come in. This is the lighter, so I should say, for those who aren't familiar with Stampin' Up! Products, that our Stampin' Blends, these alcohol-based markers, are available, and they're sold in packs of 2, a light and a dark of the same color, and that is so that you may blend them when you're coloring with them. I have a tendency to do what I call color book coloring, which isn't using them as a blender, but you can get extremely creative with our blends, and you can mix between the color packs to blend and get even more colors. So I mean, the sky really for the artistic mind is the limit. And so I've got my church. I think that's what I wanted there, and then I'm going to come in with smoky slate, and I think the light, and I'm going to do the steeple in light, I also went ahead and did the fascia. So up here, just to give it a little bit of distinction. And then I had done something different, but I'm going to then go do ahead my steps and this path that's coming out in front of the church. I like how fast these color. I don't have anything. The biggest tip I have, if you're trying to keep it from, oops, I went over here because I went a different way on this one. If you're doing something, actually, don't want to do that one. I do, however, want to grab the dark of those, and I think that's what this is. Yes. I started to say something, and I think I sidestepped my thoughts. You don't want to push too hard. So these are, the markers are such that in these tiny spaces, it doesn't take a lot. It'll spread, I guess is the words I'm looking for. Kind of tongue-tied today. All righty, and then I think we'll give that a red front door, so we're not going to do that. I may come back with the green on this bow, because if I do a red door, I don't want a green or a red bow. I wouldn't see it. And this was Mossy Meadow. So I'm coming in. I'm going to take, again, you can kind of notice that it just is a matter of just lightly touching in places because it'll spread around. Now we do have a color lifter, which I often refer to it as a color pusher, because it'll push that color back onto itself. If you need that, since we have that out, I'm going to pull over here because we want to add red on this bow, and there's a bow on this door. Again, you can kind of see it's bleeding a little bit onto. You can do the color of your doors however you'd like. I'm going to come back with that dark smoky slate, making sure it's the right one. And because I've got parts of this roof line that doesn't have snow on it that I want to color in. Okay, and I had some doors I think that I wanted to color. No, what I want to do is put the steps. I knew I had steps somewhere else besides on the church. All right, so I'm going to take and use, you can use as many colors as you'd like. I'm going to use gray granite for this other house and line it up here. Again, take your time, trying to not be too lengthy. And a lot of times I'll get these colored ahead of time. Done some things ahead of time, but this is not one of them. So you want to line it up. I like sometimes showing how to color, and I find if you'd like to color at all, the Stampin' blends are really worth your effort and investment. Put this up here. Okay, and then I'm going to grab that dark gray granite and grab the roof, and there's a piece I can kind of show about the blending it in. So like that, and then I did the door. This one's almost snowed in. Okay, so with that, then we're going to grab in, I have in here wild wheat. And we're going to make this particular house, this is a condo type house, and it's going to be a different color than the one next to it. Kind of like this gold color. This is, I know a lot of people don't care for it. This particular color, the wild wheat, is an in color, and it was the in color from, I believe, 2022 to 2020, no, 23 to 25, and it will retire after this year. I will be sad to see it actually go, because I think it's a great color in our edition. So unless they choose for some reason, and eventually they will refresh our colors. So Stampin' Up! Currently has 2 in color groups, and then they also carry 48 basic colors. And this is Smoky Slate, the dark Smoky Slate, just to give here, and then a little on that roof, and then my chimney, which I could have done a different color, but I chose not to. On this one, I'm going to make my door Smoky Slate, just so we aren't taking forever to color everything. All right, and then, let's see, what color would I want to make the rest of it? Well, let's be colorful. Let's do green. This is the light, yes, of Old Olive. So we're going to come in, grab. For me, coloring is therapeutic. I know, like I said, I know there are people who that is not true of. And I think there are ways to do these houses in colors and then cut them out. And if you're not a fussy cutter, this last card with the thanks is definitely going to be more up your style. Because that one I did with a circle. And you could use a punch, but when we're doing, if you're using the dies or the larger church, like you might have to use the dies, because the circle punches that we have are not big enough. Okay, then I've got a brown, and this is the S100. This one happens to be one of the colors that are for our skin tones, but you can use them for so many things besides skin. So I'm going to use that one there to get me a dark door. I think I'm going to do the same thing over here if I can not mungle up my bow. Like so, and then I need to add, and again, do I have the dark? Yes. I'm going to add that just so we have something for our fascia here. And all of these little ledges in our on our roof, or on our windows, excuse me. My goodness, I can't even talk today. So that takes care of all of that. I said I needed to show you on the pusher, on the color lifter, and this is sold individually. You push it and it'll push it back onto what we've already colored. And then I want to use Wink of Stella. I think I have one in here, yes. Wink of Stella is a glitter brush, and I love it when I'm trying to get snow. For me, that is the biggest thing, and you don't see it so much on the camera, but it makes a big, big difference when you see it in the light. And so it's clear, and it just leaves a bit of shimmer. And I love to come in like the line of the snow, and then definitely some on the tree, and so in the areas, and you squeeze it. There's instructions on how to activate all of the glitter when you get a new one. Then I'm going to come into my groove line here, and along the snow here. And one thing I didn't do, I've got some shutters, and is that one on here? Yes. Is this gray granite? Maybe this one. Nope. That's always the fun of it. There's the light gray granite. Is it this one? Yes. I forgot my shutters, and I realize that pride doesn't matter, but And I thought it looked good to have windows with the lights on. And so I have come in just enough to get, you don't need even to fill them all, but you want it to look like the lights were on in the room. And this I'm using Daffodil Delight. And then again in here we want to make sure it looks like I've got my lights on. And it also gives a little distinction. So to get all of this put together, I need my paper snips. I'm going to come in and I'm going to come along this edge and come out. And so you're going to get to see me fussy cut this whole thing because it was kind of a process to figure out how I wanted it. And so you move your paper with your left hand unless you are left-handed. If you are left-handed, you will move the paper with your right hand and cut with your right hand, or you'll cut with your left hand and turn it with your right hand. But you're going to move it with your opposite dominant hand so that you aren't getting lines and you keep it moving. Except when you get it cut and stuck in places, but come up, come over, and we don't need this piece, so we can just let that go. We're going to come up, come down. For the most part, all of these houses are really pretty easy to cut out without worrying about all kinds of little details. And by giving you the larger pieces, if you order, it gives you some freedom to kind of make it your own too. So, and that's the beauty of all of this, is that you can make this, and I think these will make great gifts. That's the other, I think, great thing about doing a welcome sign. I made a welcome sign for a friend a number of months ago. They were new to the area and they love retro. And I loved it so much I then made myself one. But theirs was first. And this is gonna go into my frame. But then I have one I can give away. So I'm gonna come up, grab here. Then what I did is I swung it across. And because we're gonna come in, we're gonna make some snowdrifts. And then I'm gonna come along and grab up here. So you notice we're cutting out the one that's intended. I'm gonna come around like so. And around this house and all the snow. Up here and cut off on this side. And all the fussy cutting is what takes forever, it seems like. Can be off on this side. So then that's going to sit, you'll kind of notice, on my pool party. Then I have this piece here, and so what I would do is just come up. It doesn't really matter too much what you do on that because you'll have some room. You want to leave a little bit around so you cannot cut off Mr. Snowman's hands. Again, though, you're going to just wiggle it around. Hopefully I'm not making it where you can't see what I'm doing. And up here. some of the fussier parts really aren't too hard, and you really could probably choose to just round them. I'm a little more particular when it comes to that, but you have some options. Like so, and I think these houses, I'm hoping it's something they'll keep longer than this particular catalog. This is something that's found right now in our online store, but it's also in our September to December mini catalog. So then I've got this one, which I'm going to be able to then place how I'd like. I could come higher with it, I could go lower with it. I'm going to decide if I like maybe here. And got one more piece, and then all those silly trees. So I'm going to come in just so I have a little more wiggle on all this one. Come up. Around the snow. When you're putting it on a color background, you will notice everywhere you didn't cut. So come along here. And around. I have to speed this part up. So I've got this in such a way that I can line up my house wherever I want. I could come higher, I could go lower. Pieces there. So I've got all those parts there. We need our little trees. And then I want to show you kind of how I do everything else. So we will kind of hurry up. Like so. So do you make gifts for Christmas? You could let me know in the comments. If you're someone who does more gifty stuff, or are you someone who stamps a lot of cards? Do you do your own Christmas cards? I know where society has gotten where we don't tend to do a lot of anything handmade. And so I've got one tree. Thankfully, told you these really do cut out pretty fast. And I know you've got a little extra on this that you can use for other things as well. I was kind of surprised how much I really like this white willow. This is in 12 by 12, by the way. I don't know that I mentioned that. White willow comes in a bigger pack, and it's 12 by 12, and it's a nice weight. It's not super heavy. So it's great for layering, but it's heavier than our new two-toned cardstock, which is also 12 by 12 and is intended more for scrapbooking, though it has got so many other uses. So you'll see me using that in the future too. So there we got both of those. Let's get those out of the way. Put my scissors away. I want to share with you how I did welcome, and you want to do it first. It's one of the things, biggest tips I think I've got. So you want a ruler, any acrylic ruler that you can kind of see lines on. And again, because this is 5 by 7 frame, you want to come in. This other side's sticky, which is what I've got here. Is we've got some of our adhesive sheet. So I'm going to come in about 1.25 inches, and I'm lining it up just on the edge of my ruler. What I found before is I want to come down a little further. So I'm going to grab it here, and I'm going to line it up against this. You just need something to line it up with. Then we're going to space out. So I want to come and grab the E on this end. And I didn't say what this one was from. This is from the Alphabet a la Mode dies. So I want to come, I think it's here. So we may move it. So you're going to space them out. The Alphabet a la Mode dies are in our online store. So I need the L. So what you do is you attach that adhesive sheet to the cardstock before you cut it out. And then for your detailed dies, which these are, they're pretty skinny, it gives you adhesive on the back so that you don't have to worry about adhering glue to the back and it blobbing all over, which is what I think I have a tendency to have happen. So the idea is just that you space it out here. And you can make, it looks like I'll go a little bit wider or narrower than I was thinking. So, and then, yeah, maybe, okay. Maybe I can see if I can get it to come out of there. There we go. Kind of get that just out of the way. And pull this piece off from the M. So line up M. And this this technique here with the ruler is it's an old scrapbook technique. I don't do a ton of scrapbooking, or at least I should say I haven't been doing a lot of scrapbooking. So then it lines it up here so that it's easy to place. And it keep it, so you want it come down a little ways because remember your frame's going to come in a little ways. And you can space it then how you want right to left. And you can know whether or not you're straight, and then you just press. And then when I take my other hand, grab a little bit here, then I can slide off. Now we're gonna, thankfully, before we got too crazy there. Okay, so then you press, and you want to get some pressure. If you've got your bone folder handy, the bone folder is a great way to get that adhesive to stick, because in part because we have heat embossed this back. Now remember that the online class is free to you with a $35 order placed in my online store, justalittleink.stampinup.net, and that can be any product, it doesn't have to be these. So the reason that I had waited to put this down is to make sure I'm okay with my E being in the way. And I think I'm going to have to be on this one, but I might come down just a little bit. So just so that this isn't quite so high. So figure that out. I'm going to go ahead and kind of start placing the other parts how I want them before I glue stuff down. So we're going to line up, and then we'll do the ones in the back first. So I think I want this one lower. I think I'd like it there. So I'm going to pull all these others out of the way, and then I'm going to grab my multi-purpose liquid glue. Okay, and I'm going to just kind of lift, because for me this, I don't want to lift it off of there. Okay, I'm going to lay it here, scroll down just enough so that this isn't hitting, and then I can put some adhesive over here. Because this is a 3D project, it's okay if it's a little thicker. And then I want to make sure again that my church is going to be out of the way. And I'm going to line up this piece on top. So again, kind of just keep placing as you would like it to be. And I'm going to line up this one just below. So I think that's where I'd like this one to be. So I'll kind of get an idea here. And I'll have a little wiggle room. put some adhesive. Ooh, might be a little blobbery. All right. I'm a little crazy when it comes to my adhesive. So again, I'm going to lay this on here. I came down just a little lower. And I want to come in and slide it in behind. Okay, so there we go. And then I can place this on the top. So we're not going to go to the bottom all the way just because I know I'm going to trim a little. Get a little bit along here and we're almost there. So put my glue out of the way, line up. Multi-purpose liquid glue is a great option. So I come along here, get my houses and everything kind of lined up, like so. A little longer, and so what I'm going to do is just grab out those paper snips, and I'm just going to come across the back side to square it up so that this will fit into my frame. So it's a little fussy cutting and whatnot, but definitely I think worth it. Then before I'm done, I'm going to put my trees on here, but I also want to come along this line here that I cut to kind of accent with my Winka Stella where that snow is. It kind of shows, like I said before, more when it's in person than it does so much on camera. So I'm going to grab glue, slide this back over here, and you kind of just place them where you think it makes the most sense. So I want one over here, and then you could choose to only have one. You don't have to. You could put 7 of them, honestly, if you really like that many. So I'm going to come along here, and I think we'll stick one more over here. So then this is our finished welcome sign. And so when I stick it inside my frame, you can see that it's going to be a beautiful thing to display. So let's move along so I'm not taking too much time. We're going to do that ornament. And what you need for the ornament, you're going to need a 3.5-inch square. This is basic white. We're back to our basic white. You're also going to need a 1.5-inch square, and you're going to cut from that. You're going to stamp your church. And then you're also going to cut out, and this will come already cut out. You will cut out from the 3.5-inch or the 1.5-inch, the one of the smallest of our simple or our stylish shapes dies. You're going to ink up, and so I told you the acrylic shapes. You're going to ink up using our stamp set again. You're going to use our Whisper White. I think it might be considered just white. I have an old pad. You're going to use the white ink. This is one that is sold uninked with, and then you do the re-inker with it. So you're going to ink it up. It's one of our old craft pads. So it's a pigment-based ink, which means it will hold that, it'll hold the embossing powder. Can't talk today. And then, well, let me get my paper out here. Place it underneath just so I don't make a mess. And what I found worked almost best, actually, was to take the die, or this, and just stick it. Actually, no, I know what I did. I'm a confused girl. So I'm going to come here, you're going to stamp right on top of it. Press it, and you're going to find that when you turn it over, we'll go ahead and clean that later. I didn't even show you how I cut the other. Then you're going to sprinkle the powder onto there while it's wet. And that's the important part, is that while it's wet. So we're gonna, well, too many fingers. Do you have too many fingers? Okay, so I'm gonna come into here and sprinkle. I'm gonna let this kind of come across. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Get it to shake all through it. And then the biggest thing I noticed is that when you heat emboss this, because you're going to heat emboss, again, you're going to take your heat tool, you're going to turn it on and go. It takes longer to heat up the powder onto the acrylic, but when you do, I already have one done so we don't have to keep on watching me do that. So when you do, then you have snow on the front of the acrylic shape. So I'm going to grab out our Tuxedo Black Memento ink again. And I'm going to line it up here. And I want it high enough that I have some space underneath. And this is one of those areas where we're going to clean it quick. And one more to do after this. While we have it out, what I had chosen for the greeting on this one is out of Peaceful Seasons, and it's just the peace and joy. I'm going to put it on a small block. Our blocks are sold separately from our stamp sets so that you can keep reusing them. It requires fewer blocks that way, and you have simpler storage. So stamp that, and this was with Cherry Cobbler ink. So I'll get that cleaned up. Pull my Cherry Cobbler pad away, and then we're going to do some real simple coloring here. Kind of the same concept as before. We're going to give a red bow, and then just a little bit of coloring. Same colors I've had out before, not anything new on this one. But it makes for a cute ornament, and I was just real pleased with kind of how that turned out. So I'm going to grab, I think this is Mossy Meadow. Now I did notice that our basic white, because it's meant more for Stampin' Blends and our alcohol-based stuff, doesn't bleed as badly as the white willow, but I just really kind of like using white willow. So that there, and then I'm going to use that gray granite for the church this time. That one's the dark. We will want that. I think this is the other one, if I can read. Okay, so I'm going to do as quickly as I can on gray granite so we aren't watching me color forever and ever and ever. Into here, and there's a little bit of it showing on the inside of the wreath there. What I find is if you circle it a little bit, you'll kind of just keep moving. You can just keep coloring and get deeper and deeper of colors. So the darker you want, you just keep going over it. And the nice thing is it doesn't pill up the paper. It's really meant for heavier application, and it will bleed through to the other side, just so you know. It's not something you normally want to see on the other side of your cardstock, and I'll kind of show you that. So you will kind of see that on the back side of your ornament, so you may want to take and put maybe another circle on the back side, maybe with a either a message, so that you see on both sides. I don't worry about it because normally I'm not seeing through my ornament. Oops, for this one I do think I want to go ahead and just go down here. Scroll it out, and however far you want that to go. And we're going to use with the dark gray granite. I tried to keep my colors pretty simple on this one. And then with the fascia and you could, because the church, it's a church, you could give it stained glass. I think there's all kinds of beautiful things you could do. So then all I did with this one was then to come in and drop things. Come in and give it again so that the lights are on the windows of the church. But again, I think it'd be pretty if you made them stained glass. And then finally, because you know it's a snowy scene, I wanted to make sure to give it again that wink of Stella. So I almost forgot, we didn't get the roof. So we want to come along here, and then I want to come in, give it again, some of that area where the snow is. So we have that. We want to make sure to grab the roof. Otherwise it looks a little naked. Or half finished, maybe even is a better word for that. So to put all of this together, you're going to cut out the top part of your church. So you're going to come in again, kind of come up, swing it up, like so. Come up and over. Over. Again, I apologize for those who don't like watching me color and cut, but just didn't. Today was not that day to get some stuff done in advance, so you didn't have to watch. So hopefully you find this helpful of how I kind of do the process of creating. A little bit on the fly. I know there's a lot of people who enjoy doing it that way and not having it set out. I'm a little like being a little more organized. So like that. And come across here. And the biggest thing on this one is that you want to leave that base wider than you maybe even think you need it to be. And you'll see why in a minute here. So I'm going to come across, and then I want to swing it out like so. Okay, so we're done with the scissors. And we're just going to use our multi-purpose liquid glue. And I want to definitely make sure I have enough glue on the church, on that tree. Get enough on the steeple. You don't need a goober amount, but you need enough along this edge, and you need enough along this edge, and then come down a little ways. Okay, it's amazing what this multi-purpose liquid glue, how well it sticks. It truly is multi-purpose. So you want to know where that hole is, and you're going to make sure that you don't go longer than that hole. So you can come across. It gives you some freedom to come further over. I don't want the steeple right in the middle. I want it coming over a little further. And then press. So it should still fit in here. You may have some glue along the edges. That's okay. We're going to then go ahead and put some adhesive on the back of our circle, because we want to glue it down. Okay, and the glue dries clear, so you won't see it on the back side. Come up here, now come lower, like so, and press. And so then all we're going to do, we're going to come in, we're going to turn it over, and I found it was almost the easiest. you're just going to follow the edge of the acrylic shape to trim that paper along the edge. And when you do, you then have, get a little closer to the camera for you. Isn't that cute? It did it so nicely. And so the last pieces are, you need a piece of trim, and these are things that you'll get in your packet. This is a 12-inch piece of, and I think I wrote it down, but then I didn't do anything with it. It's a 12-inch piece of our gold twisted thread. It's in our online store. So fold it in half, 12 inches, fold it in half, poke the cut ends through the hole of the shape, loop it through the loop, pull it tight, and then I came in, just so that that wouldn't go places, I'm going to loop and knot it just above that. So depending on how far you want that, you're going to come just so that it doesn't keep on twisting. And then you want another knot toward the top. So twist it around and then pull up. You don't want it, too short. You need it long enough to hang on your tree. So, like so. And then you can trim these ends. Just going to trim them a little bit. And then we're going to put a bow on the front. And I more and more need help. And so this is the Cherry Cobbler in Gold 1/4 inch ribbon. It's out of our online, or not our online, our January to December mini catalog. So it's an 8-inch piece. I'm looping it around a fork. This is a fork bow. And so I've got it going on the front, and then I'm going to come around. I'm going to stick it through the center tine of my fork, pull it up, okay, and then I'm going to come through the top of that same center, and then I'm going to tie it in a knot. So I'm going to get over here, try and get it to not go crazy on me here, and this has been the easiest way, especially with arthritic hands, to tie bows anymore. And so then you're just going to tie it in a knot. So bring those tails together, tie them in a knot, and then pull them opposite so that it comes across. So I'm going to slide it back in on my fork. So you should come across, even out your ends of your tail, like so. And then what I found, before it slides off on me, what I found worked the best for me is to take my scissors, and I'm going to angle my ribbon while it's on the fork. So I'm going to come over here. For me, I found it was almost the easiest way to get an even cut. So I won't need those extra strings that came off. You can keep them and use them for something else. So then slide it off your fork, and also can use any size fork. So your big fork that you would use for meat, our Thanksgiving holidays coming, you might be using one of those. I'm going to take glue dots, and I will send a mini glue dot with you. I have a little package of them, so you can attach your bow. Stick it on here, and then you slide it off. I find that's the easiest way. It's sticky, and then I'm coming right above that hole. I think I am. And press. And those mini glue dots are a super strong adhesive. So then you have an ornament. So that was our second project, and super quick, we're going to do our third project, which is using our note cards and envelopes. They come 20 in a package. They come in basic white, and it's a thick based cardstock that is a 5-inch by 3.5 inch when it's finished. So it's 7 by 5. You're going to score it in half, and you know what? I forgot one thing. Oh, quickly. Oops, I may have to snip this one off. This will be fun. Okay, so I'm going to line up best I can here. This is super fast. So this is our reindeer card or designer series paper. Could have used that other side for that matter, but I'm going to come in and we're going to have to eyeball because Amy wasn't thinking. You don't do that, do you? Come across, see if this is enough. That's pretty close. Okay, sometimes you do what you got to do. Okay, so then we're going to stamp our house onto the front, and we're going to have it be like magic in a moment here. Okay, I'm going to stamp my house on my circle. I'm going to take again from that, I wanted a small thanks, and the Hearts and Hugs stamp set had a tiny little thanks, which was perfect for what I was looking for. And so on that small banner in Old Olive, I'm going to ink it up and stamp. So I've got thanks. And then you're going to color, and what you choose to use. I'm going to go ahead and not color it for the sake of time because I think you've watched me do enough. I'm going to put just a little adhesive on the back of the thanks. And because this would be in the snow anyway, it's okay. You're going to line it up. Then you're going to take and put Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. You just need a few of them. So 1, 2, and 3. Pull those backs off. You can do more if you want, but you don't have to. And come over here. You're going to put it on the front. You could choose to stamp on your envelope because you will get envelopes with these things. And when you are done with the magic of television, you will have a simple thank you to send for your thanks for all those wonderful Christmas presents. And so I'm going to shift back over. Thank you for joining me. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And don't forget that host code that was listed in here, and it'll also be in the description of this video. Until next time, have a wonderful week and happy Thanksgiving.